Saturday. A lot of you probably have plans, but we appreciate you coming and seeing some of the exciting things that we have to offer. We are in orthopedic practice first and foremost. We do non-surgical treatment. So there are two kinds of orthopedic doctors. There are the surgeons and there are the non-surgeons. So we treat the same population, but we do injections, we do therapy, we do chiropractic care, acupuncture, and different techniques, even platelet-rich plasma injections to kind of regenerate the body instead of hacking away with a knife or with just steroid injections. But part of our clinic, part of the special thing about our clinic is that we use unique technologies to really diagnose athletes and regular people and try to see what is truly going on with them, what is going on in their body that makes them prone to maybe injuries, back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, foot and ankle, you name it. One of the technologies that we do have is OptoJump. And I'm just going to briefly go over it. I'm going to filter out a lot of the science and just tell you what it's about. And I will leave a live demo at the end because I have an actual setup there. But I have rich video content to show you so that you can see the full power and breadth of what it can do, okay? Especially for athletes. So the title of my talk is OptoJump or OptoJump, and how to use it to prevent injury and build better athletes. And the technology is fairly simple. We have two 1-meter planks, and what they do is they create an invisible grid. It's essentially like a kind of a ladder of invisible laser or LED lights, and it detects motion as well. And the unique thing is, if you break the beams or you break this kind of network of lights that go from one plank to the next, it detects some kind of motion, it detects some kind of movement. And based on this, you can do all sorts of neat things. You can put it on a treadmill, and if you're moving between the planks, each step you take, you displace or actually you block the transmission of the LED lights together. That blocking pattern produces all sorts of neat things. Things like stride length, step length, and as we will see, speed and power as well. We also have cameras, and we can look at different views of the walking. If you don't have a treadmill and you had more than 1 meter, in this case we have about 4 meter setup, you simply walk your natural walking gait pattern on any flat surface. And again, the concept is the same. Every time you take a step, it breaks the beam, and when it breaks the beam, it creates a pattern that the software is able to calculate many different things. So the point here is that we do a lot to invest into athletic power, right? You want them to be very powerful athletes, very strong athletes, but on the back end, from an injury prevention standpoint, horsepower is not everything. We look at alignment issues. And in particular, OptoJump allows us to look at alignment. So you've been to the car and had your car aligned. There's probably worn out tires, and it tends to drift right or left. The way we view the human body is that if one step is longer or shorter than the other leg, then there's an alignment issue, and it builds upon each other. So when you're running, jogging, training, if there's a slight asymmetry or imbalance between your right and left step and right and left leg, it creates all sorts of different stresses on the body. And for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you different demonstrations as to the different type of things that we can see. This is, first and foremost, a timing technology. So if you recognize this little contraption right here, this technology was invented and produced by Microgate. They're responsible for all the timing technologies of all the Olympics, at least the last 3 or 4 Olympics that we know of. They time things to up to the 1,000th point of a second. And so what they did was to create the technology, and as you can see here, we they did about a 30-meter track, and we have a sprinter, and pretty much you can see on every step different types of data that the sprinter takes. So every step they take, you can see their power, the explosiveness, the step length and the stride length of the sprinter. So you can see where their form breaks down in their whole entire event, step by step. So that's one example. Another case study that we use this for is in things like basketball. And this is the Olympic Training Center for the basketball athletes. And what they do is they look at right and left leg. So jumping, power, and comparison. So they can split screen different athletes and see which athlete is actually the most powerful on the right leg and left leg, and maybe make associations as to why this particular athlete is weak on a defensive end on that part, or driving the basketball on one side or the next. So that's another great application of the system. And this is a great illustration of what we can do with hurdlers. If we put out up to 30 meters, again, you can study every step of the way. These big peaks show the time frame in which the hurdler actually leaps up and gets off the ground. So you could even study how high they move up and how long they can actually jump forward to go above the hurdle. And you can see, again, step by step, where their speed or their power breaks down. And not just for track and field, it has application, for instance, for rugby players to look at their running mechanics. What it does have is kind of like what Dartfish has. It can freeze frame some of these images, and you can draw lines on some of these images. So as an example, in this athlete, if you look down here, the software allows you to, this is just a rough drawing, but the software allows you to make very complex angle calculations. In this case, how the pelvic drops with every step in relation to the shoulder, and as you can see, the thigh angle in relation to the pelvic drop. So you can make all sorts of different correlations for your athletes, at least in the off season when you're looking at their power and their strength phase of their training. And the last thing I want to show you, just a sample video of really the power of it when you're looking at comparisons. Let's say you're training an athlete and looking at him or her over the course of a season or a specific time frame, and you can look at their performance, at least in this case, vertical jump from one moment in time to the next, and you can just compare, what their performance is at each level. So you have a lot of rich data. You can actually calculate things like power, how high they jump off the ground, the amount of time they spend on the ground, and how much time they spend in the air. And it's quite simple, really. And you can also make subjective observations of their jumping as well. So that pretty much gives you an overview as to some of the things that the technology brings. And I will simply end this. This is a gait report, for instance, that we can use for athletes or anyone when they're walking. And what we want to do is assess the athlete, analyze them on video and OptoGate, and then apply, so make recommendations. So this is the kind of services that we offer. and hopefully you get something out of it. And if you have any questions, we'll also do a live demo when we have time.